A Portsmouth publisher is launching a new edition of a Victorian romance set in the city of Portsmouth. By Celia's Arbor features spies, murder and love, all within the confines of the old walled city, as depicted in extraordinary detail by its author Sir Walter Besant. Joining me now to tell us more is publisher Matt Wingett. Thanks for coming in. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Is it Sir Walter Besant?
Well, I mean, it's actually a really good question. It's actually all the ones that you just said. The usual one is Besant.
Besant.
But what happened was, you see, now you've asked a really good question, because his sister was Annie Besant, and what happened was that she was a kind of leading suffragette of her time, and he changed his name, or changed the pronunciation, to Besant or Besant in order to try and distance himself from her. So actually, you're kind of right and not right at the same time.
Okay.
So, there you go.
I'll deal with being right and not right. So I've got a copy of the book here. It's kind of, you've gone for a sort of old-fashioned imagery and some people looking at what looks like kind of, is that Southsea Castle?
It is Southsea Castle. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the book and how you kind of came about it.
Okay, right. Well, I mean, I first heard about Sir Walter Besant when I was working as a rare book dealer, and I went into an old shop in Portsmouth, and the dealer in there just mentioned that he was a local name. And over the years, Besant's name kept popping up until eventually I just thought, oh, okay, I need to look into this. So I got hold of a copy of By Celia's Arbor and started reading it. And that's the one that I thought would be interesting, A Tale of Portsmouth Town. Extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. As soon as I started reading it, I was just, oh my goodness, this is what the town was like before the walls came down. And Walter Besant used to live in Portsmouth, just off of St George's Square, so he knows. He grew up in the time that the
So now I'm going to ask two stupid questions.
Okay, go for it.
First of all, where were the walls?
Do you not know? Oh, okay. All right. Well, Portsmouth used to be the most heavily fortified town in Northern Europe.
Right.
Okay, and the walls used to stretch around the area that's now called Old Portsmouth.
Okay.
Okay. In fact, the Landport Gate, which is opposite the Mary Rose and Dragon, is the only part that's left of the northern side of the walls. So that whole side used to be walled, and it had a moat around it, and a massive where the United Services ground in. There used to be a massive pond with a mill on it. So, you know, I mean, it's all completely gone, and being able to repicture it and rediscover it through this book is just extraordinary.
Second ridiculous question.
Go for it.
What's an arbor?
Ah, yes, right. That also is related to the walls, because the walls were piles of banked earth and stone, and along the top of them there grew trees, elm trees, like really mature elm trees, all the way around the town.
Sounds quite nice.
I know, absolutely. It's actually beautifully described. And an arbor is a place where trees grow. Okay. So there was a particular defensive structure called a bastion, which Besant calls the Queen's Bastion in the book. There actually was never a Queen's Bastion, but that bastion is Celia's Arbor in the book.
Oh, okay. So maybe arbor, a little bit like French arbre.
Right, you've got it. Like trees, arboretum.
So tell me a little bit about, it's not that long, a little bit long. Tell me a little bit about a summary of why people should read this, and what is it about?
Well.
You sort of said love and spies and murder. A bit more detail, please.
Okay, so here we go. The story is actually about three friends who grew up from very young. There's Leonard, there's Ladislas, and there's Celia. And unbeknownst to Celia, both Leonard and Laddie, as he's called, have fallen in love with Celia. And what happens is that Leonard...
Right, for Celia?
Yeah, absolutely.
God.
When Leonard is about 16 or 18, he decides to leave Portsmouth, and he says to Laddie, will you look after Celia for me? I'm going to make my fortune and come back and marry her. And that, therefore, leaves Laddie in something of a bind, because he's also madly in love with her. So that's the starting point of the story, but it's also set against the backdrop of the Crimean War. It's set against all sorts of stuff that's going on around the world with the British Empire, and Portsmouth is absolutely central to all this action. So you've got a spy living in the town. I'm not going to give away too much detail. You've got Poles who've come over from Tsarist Russia. They've escaped, and they're living on benefits in Portsmouth, looked after by the government, by the British government, because they've got nowhere else to go.
Did the Nigel Farage of the time have anything to say about
No,
that?
they were welcomed with open arms. It wasn't a problem back then. So there's nothing new really in things that are going on with what's going on in Portsmouth now.
And what kind of person will this appeal to?
Well, I mean, I've got to say, anyone who's really interested in Portsmouth history, that's going to be one person who, one of the individuals that's going to go for this, because It is just amazing. I was just reading it again just now and just coming across more and more fantastic, beautiful writing. But I also think people that appreciate just a damn good read, actually, because the thing is beautifully written. Walter Besant was really admired by Rudyard Kipling. He was mentioned by Conan Doyle as being an inspiration, and he is a great writer. He's a contemporary of Charles Dickens, and in many ways he's more lyrical and he's more beautiful a writer.
So why don't we know about him? Fashions,
they just go and they come and go, don't they? I mean, Charles Dickens hit some really, really major points. I mean, his first really big novel, The Pickwick Papers, and his first true novel, Oliver Twist, were, you know, they just absolutely hit the times absolutely perfectly. With this, you know, it came and it was hugely popular in its day. Walter Besant was one of the top writers of his day, but nothing stayed because there was nothing historically that was going to kind of like change the world. If you think about Dickens, then Oliver Twist changes things. You know, it changes the kind of the way that the poor
exposes this whole way of
yeah. So yeah.
Okay. And is there anything else you need to know about it?
Well worth a read, and I'm launching it tomorrow.
Right.
I'm launching it on Saturday the 30th at St George's Church in St George's Square in Portsmouth, just near to Gun Wharf. And the launch is it starts at 3, from 3 to 5. So yeah, and it's available at Waterstones, Blackwell's, Strong Island, various shops. You can get it on Amazon as well.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to take a read. Thank you very much, Matt.
My pleasure. Thank you.